All right, I think I'm going to start so that if ever it's been 3 minutes that I started the video, and if ever you're watching this where nothing is happening, you're probably wondering what the hell is happening to Tatiana and this space and this masterclass. So, exactly that. So, Seeds of Wealth. Welcome to this masterclass. This masterclass is dedicated to the future of work bubble, to shape-shifting our space and our minds and our leadership in order to fit in a new paradigm, to excel actually in a new paradigm, and to understand what are the seeds of this new paradigm. My name is Tatiana Judiez. I am a transformation and growth consultant. I've become that out of being an entrepreneur my entire life, out of creating companies and building people, actually. And I started my career as an interior designer. We call it in France an architecte d'intérieur. By the way, I'm going to try to do this masterclass a little bit in both languages. I don't know how successful I will be because I'm actually, even though I'm French, I'm more fluent in English when it comes to work than French. I'm going to try to a certain extent. So indeed, I am French. And I am an interior designer at the very beginning of my professional life, which led me to associate myself with partners with whom we built a huge franchise business in the luxury hospitality space in Canada. It became a franchise. It was a business we started as very passionate, insurgent founders. And without even a business plan, we built this business for me over 15 years of my life. We started this business in 2000 and it became a wild success. It was a beautiful, beautiful venture where I actually we didn't go for seeds investing and venture capital. And we basically invested our own capital, our personal capital, our personal sweat as well. And so it was a sort of business that felt like a family business because we were so committed, we were so invested on all levels, and that really taught me a lot, which still is infused in all of the work that I do today. And when I decided to exit that business, I had a specific strategy that really allowed me to exit successfully in 2015. And I exited. So a lot of people have asked me, why did you exit? Well, the exit was really because I did not feel like I belonged there anymore. I needed to get out for a lot of different reasons. There was a lack of alignment with my partners at the time. I felt like I needed to grow as a leader and as an entrepreneur. So I felt my time had expired in this space. It had really been my third baby. I am the mother of two girls. I was, during the building of that company, I was a single mom raising my kids on my own as much as I was a CEO of this business. And so it was challenging on so many levels, and yet again, so enriching. So I stepped out for those reasons. And also at the time, I had fundamental questions regarding success. I felt like my success at the time wasn't felt by me. So what do I mean by that? It was the sort of success where everybody was putting me on a sort of pedestal and categorizing me as successful. And yet at the time, I remember feeling like I wasn't that success. So what does that mean, right? So this is a question that led me on a path for the past 7 years, literally, because in 2017, I started a new business, which is this evolving business of consulting and accompanying leaders in transformation and growth, those leaders who are hyperachievers, who are committed to growth, to greatness, to transformation. And I realized that indeed this question of success is a fundamental question that needs a lot of illumination, needs a lot of light, and it needs us as a society to really start talking more about what does success mean, what does wealth mean, what does power mean. It's an evolution. It is an answer that you will have at a certain point in your life that you will no longer have at another point in your life, because it evolves, it grows, it transforms according to you, according to the principles in your life, and those evolve, right? According to where you're at. Are you a CEO of a large company? Are you in transition? And when I call transition, when I refer rather to transition, I mean those moments where the leadership of your success is going through a leap, through a valley, through perhaps a crisis, through a momentary defeat, through a void that requires you to come back to your very principles for your life of leadership, of success, of wealth, of power, and question, reevaluate, and then up level. Those moments of voids, of transition, are really, really, really tough to go through. And this is actually the context as to why I restructured my space recently. This is the first masterclass I do in a long time, because I've taken about a year of a big void in my life where I had to ask myself fundamental questions. I had no more choice. I was on my knees. I mean, the universe brought me to my knees on so many different levels, because those different levels had been in resistance for me. I had been resisting going so much deeper on those different levels. The very identity of my wealth identity, my identity with power, what is my identity with success, right? So as you see, this space, which I now called Seeds of Wealth, Wealth Beyond Wealth, is a space that is dedicated to the hyper-achieving mind. It is a space dedicated to you, to the mindset of high performance, to the mindset of high achievement, because it is a mindset. It's a way of thinking that we either develop, well, let me put it this way. It's a way of thinking that sometimes actually will happen out of trauma. It's a way of thinking that comes out of conditioning, inherited from family, society, epigenetics, meaning a lineage of DNA in your family. It is what you form out of your own experiences in life. And so it is a very high standard way of thinking and living. And it needs, to me, in my opinion, it needs recognition, it needs exposure, it needs visibility, it needs discussing, it needs a community. I was missing a community as a high achiever. I've been a high achiever my entire life. I was missing a community. So I decided to build a community, create a community that would serve me, in fact, and you, because I'm not alone in this world. I have other people around me. I know that you exist. I might not know you. I haven't worked with you yet, but you exist just like I exist. And when I have been in those moments of transition where I was asking myself really existential questions that uprooted me, destabilized me, made me go through crisis, brought so much fear in my being and my nervous system, and brought so much anxiety, brought depressing moments as well, depression type thoughts and emotions. And I think that it is really important that we demystify the fact that a lot of us who are high achievers, like those that I've witnessed who actually have committed suicide, and my heart goes out to them so, so much. And it's really partly in dedication to them that I've built this space, because it brought me to tears. Like, honestly, brought me to tears, because I am still here to talk about this, and they're not. They're not, because they didn't feel like they were accompanied. They didn't feel like they had a community that understood them. People like Kate Spade, Robin Williams, Twitch Boss, people like Anthony Bourdain, people like Tony Hsieh. Oh my God, Tony Hsieh out of Zappos. I met this man, amazing man, wrote a book on happiness at work, and yet locked himself in a room of a house on fire during COVID, felt extremely lonely, and felt extremely isolated through his own, excuse me, through his own success. I can't let this go on. I want to be the change that I see in this world, that I want to see in this world. I've modified the expression, but you get the point. The point is that as high achievers, as hyperachievers, as high performers, I've talked to you around the world, because I'm a global citizen. Presently, I'm in France. I'm based in Dubai. I've lived in California, LA for 5 years. I've lived and performed this amazing business in luxury hospitality that I had in Canada for 15 years. It became the #1 franchise, and the first and #1 franchise in Canada. I'm a global citizen. I know that you exist around the world. So, Seeds of Wealth is a community dedicated to hyperachievers around the world, a global tribe who wants to unite and wants to share and transmit to one another. This is a community where we expose, explore, talk about stigmas, talk about mental health, about depression, about all of the taboos that most of society doesn't want to talk about. And as a result, we end up being isolated. We end up feeling extremely alone. We end up sometimes committing suicide. We end up sometimes feeling like, what is wrong with us? Where have I gone wrong? What is my next step? So this space, this global community called Seeds of Wealth, is a space of mentorship. It's a space of high performance, but in a way that brings back well-being, in a way where we explore a spectrum, because I believe we are all on a spectrum of wealth, power, and success, which means that on this spectrum, we explore the polarities, the biases that sit on either end of our spectrum. And usually those are the polarities that sit on the spectrum in society in general, in business, right? And so we explore that by discussing that, by exposing it, by exploring those. And my intention is that you by listening and participating and learning and growing and transforming out of these edges that will stretch you, you come back to your own center. This is not a space being very dogmatic. I don't want to be telling you what to do. I don't want to say that this is the truth. I want to share with you what I know, what I've experienced, what has made me expand to the limits of my own being and my own doing and my own body and spirit and faith and belief in a God. I want to share all of that, transmit all of that, and you make your own mind. You choose where you are on your center. I am not one that will tell you. I've worked with many coaches. I've worked with Tony Robbins. I've worked with extremely young coaches that I adore. I have so much respect for. Victoria Washington, Melanie Ann Layer. I've worked with many, many people, many teachers. And every one of them has put a seed in me to become who I am today. This is why Seeds of Wealth is really a space of wealth in terms of material, physical, and spiritual riches. Yes, because I believe in wealth as that. It's a space where you find your center, your sense of coherence, your own essence, because that is power. I want you to feel more powerful every time you get out of a masterclass, every time you get off this space. There will be podcasts, live conversations, live gatherings around the world. There will be masterclasses. A lot of them are free. I've released a series of 7 masterclasses that are free in the next month. So have at it, have fun. And my titles are out of the box. They shake you up a little because I'm disruptive. I want to be disruptive. I want to disrupt you because when you are and when we are disrupted, this is when we get out of our comfort zone. And it's only out of your comfort zone in discomfort that you get to actually step up, that you actually find even more courage, even more resilience, even more resolve to be that leader you aspire to be. But it's up to you. So the other thing that the other intention for So is to integrate the old with the new. What I see and witness as the new paradigm and the future of work, space and principles, right? It's those are principles that I've always lived by. So for me, they're natural. Even though I am not a Gen Z, I'm not a Gen X, I'm not a millennial. I probably, my soul, I feel, is actually a millennial. I've been told that I'm actually that so many times. My kids are millennials, right? My 2 girls are millennials, and I work more with millennials than I work with people of my own generation. I'm in my 50s. So I've always functioned with what is now called the new paradigm. So for me, I am ecstatic about the new paradigm. I am so excited that I get to finally be me in a space that reflects more of my values, my principles, my standards, my way of leading, my type of wealth, my level of power. Like, oh my God, I am so thankful and so grateful we are finally there. So Seeds of Wealth is a space of mentorship and coaching and transmission to all elevate ourselves together. It's mixing differentness with togetherness. That is a quote from Michelle Obama. I love Michelle Obama and her husband, of course. I think that they're brilliant people. Anyways, mixing differentness with togetherness. To me, diversity is what makes anything, anyone, any culture, any business far richer, far more wealthy, far more powerful, and therefore far more successful. So this space aims, and my glasses keep bugging me because they keep falling. This space is exploring the polarity so we come back to center. We do this together through diverse and polar opposite subjects, gender, generations, leadership, styles, authority versus more of a lateral type of leadership. We explore as much as we can explore together so that we come back to center, to our own centers. And what really matters is that this center, hopefully for you today, will be a center that is aligned with the new paradigm principles. So let's like dive into, I've taken 24 minutes. It's a bit long, so I'm so sorry, but I wanted to give you context for my why, for the also the why that exists and lives and breathes in Seeds of Wealth, which is the restructure, the reinvention, and the relaunch of my space after a huge period of crisis and void in the last year for me, which has transformed me for the better. And in order to honor today, what is the future of work? What is the new paradigm? So let's dive. What is a new paradigm? It is really radically opposite to the old paradigm, what we could call as well patriarchy, all the patriarchal principles, that old paradigm of thinking, of doing, and how to do business has been completely put. So most people would say upside down. I say right side up, because I believe that the new paradigm principles are here to stay. I believe that anyone or anything, meaning a business, that doesn't align with the level of authenticity and integrity and transparency and emotional intelligence required today through a type of leadership that is no longer vertical, but is lateral, is the way to go, is the way to do business, is the way to lead. It is here to stay. This is the new era. And if you have trouble abiding to those principles, understanding those principles, because somewhere in there they come to get you deep because you don't agree, because it comes to ignite something in you that doesn't make you feel aligned to those new principles, the requirements, the commands of what is out there asking you to shift, asking you to be and think and do very, very differently. I get it. I can help you with that. And I get it because I know I've talked to so many people who have trouble. I work with people who have trouble integrating, and I work with also the younger types, like millennials, who, even though they are part of that generation of the new paradigm, they're experiencing conflict. They're experiencing conflict with some of the people who are still in leadership positions working with them. So they're having trouble integrating the differences, communicating with them. They're having trouble feeling powerful. They're having trouble. So it's really important that we learn as leaders to master, first and foremost, self-leadership. So your way to lead yourself is paramount. This is the number one priority. How you lead yourself is how you will lead others. So you've got to master self-leadership. The principles I'm about to present to you are 7 seeds, 7 principles for leading yourself, shape-shifting your space and your leadership, your self-leadership, so that in business and out in the world, it's anchored within you. And actually, those principles can be used in any context. There are 7 universal seeds or 7 universal principles that can be used in any context. So it's pretty cool. And they are, again, the pillars of the ways we can shapeshift ourselves, our identity. They're helpful in times of crisis because, let's face it, part of the new paradigm is leading through crisis, leading through chaos, leading despite crisis, chaos, and uncertainty. The new paradigm is mastering how to hold space for paradox. This is why I've introduced this notion of a spectrum, that we are all on a spectrum. And especially the hyperachiever goes to extremes in the ways that success, wealth, and power is accomplished and done, right? We go through extremes. We push the limits. We like to push the boundaries. It's really a little bit of our DNA, right? And so when you do that, you stretch yourself, which is great. But at some point, you've got to really build that resilience to lead through anything. Because let's put it straight up. Extraordinary leadership is not leading through a moment of joy and a moment of pleasure. Those are important in our lives, and they're part of our GPS, right? It has to be part of our GPS, how to lead crisis, chaos, uncertainty, discomfort through pain and suffering, because sadly they exist, and pleasure, joy, fulfillment, happiness, love. So the new paradigm is no longer one or the other. We've done the doing through sacrifice. This is the core of my work, is to help hyperachievers rewire their neuroscience to achieve success in a different way than through sacrifice. Because I've done it many times. I've gone through burnout many times, and it works. It does. So somewhere in there, we get validated. We get, you know, we receive accolades. Good job, Tatiana. You're so successful. You're so this, you're so that. Like, how many times have you received accolades in your life because you've done success in a way that was hard? You were hustling, you were pushing, you killed yourself because that's the motto, you know, no pain, no gain. And, you know, sacrificing your values because you really want to fit into this box, right? And this box demands, this box can be a company, a business, a culture, a society, wherever you want to be, whatever you want to do, you qualify that as a box, right? You want to get there, you want to make so much money. You want, which is great. We all want all kinds of things. We desire all kinds of things. Awesome. And the old paradigm is about doing that, achieving that, being on that chase of whatever through sacrifice, compromise, sacrificing your values, sacrificing your well-being, sacrificing your body, sacrificing your relationships, sacrificing marriages, sacrificing family, compromising your integrity, compromising your heart, your soul, your mission, your purpose. It's been just that. The new paradigm is no longer about that. It's about having a choice. You are in charge of your life. The way you conduct yourself in business, the way you self lead yourself through your life, your professional life, it's your choice. So, what do you choose today to be fully integrating into this space, into this future of work bubble, into a new paradigm that really puts you on a ledge where you've got to take a direction of integrity, of authenticity? Today, it's about meaning. It's no longer about being a shareholder, but about a stakeholder. And you've got to walk your walk. It's no longer about talk. It's no longer about showing up one way, thinking the other. The old paradigm is about this or that. It's a binary way of seeing the world. It's feminine or masculine. It's yin or yang. It is black or white. It is either sacrifice, pushing, hustling, and killing yourself, or you won't get success. No, that is old. It has been, it's past, it's outdated, it's stale, it's done, it's over. Today, we're so fortunate. We get to make our rules. Employers today have to fit their employee strategies, their retention strategies, their hiring strategies to fit the employees. That is the new rule. It's no longer the other way around. It's not as an employee that you have to follow employers' rules and regulations for being employed. No. Today, employees are only going for a position when it fits their values and their standards and the ways that they want to live their life. Work is no longer the most crucial element of one's life. It is their life and the coherence and balance that they choose to live in their life, and work fits in as one of the une case, that's in French, as part of the wheel, basically, right? So those are the differences between old and new. And so this is why I was so inspired to create this as an introductory, this masterclass right here, right now, this, what we're doing right now, as the introductory launch of this space, Seeds of Wealth, Wealth Beyond Wealth. Because I want more people to rejoice in embracing AI. I want more people to rejoice in embracing these new principles that put people and humanity before profit. And it's no longer, people or profit, because that's old paradigm. No, 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 no. Today, it's people and profit, except that the people are actually before the profit. Because companies, and watch around you what's been happening since COVID. And what keeps happening is that the companies that do not put their people before their profit are failing. They're calling bankruptcy. They are the leaders who are not putting their people first are failing, are being exposed, are being sued, are being taken down. There is no coming back. There is no coming back. So you've got to get onto the bandwagon and really look into whatever ignites in you a resistance to actually welcome the new paradigm principles. And as a happy achiever, being on that spectrum at this moment in time, because I know a ton. I mean, I turn as I've been going through this huge transition, huge void, huge crisis in the past year for me, I've been witnessing, I've been looking, talking, giving space to other people around me who are going silently through the same thing. Very successful people, and they're not talking about it. So when I talk about this because it's giving you permission to talk about it. It's giving you permission to come and rise and feel like you've got someone next to you who understands, has compassion and empathy for what you're going through. So this time right now, we are in a huge period of transition globally. If you are feeling those effects to the cause is the shift, right? Is this new era. It's this new way of thinking, this new way of doing business, this new way of achieving. Come to our space and reach out to me. Please reach out to me. So, because you're not alone. Let's dive in. 7 principles, 7 seeds that will help you no matter what shift, and they're all interconnected. So you might resonate with one more than the other. And what I want you to understand is that one is not more important than the other. They're all important. They're all interconnected. They're all interdependent. And it is likely that the one that triggers you the most has ramifications towards the other ones. It is linked. It is completely linked. So when one triggers you deeply, then try to see how it's connected to the others, okay? So let's start. We're going to look at this rewiring process. So I put them up on a thing in front of me because that way I don't forget to talk to you about the words that really matter through some of these principles. Words matter. I love words. I'm a big fan of words. I'm always trying to find like what word fits most, right? So the seed number 1 to shape shifting your self leadership, your leadership in general for you as a CEO. So I've picked the CEO position because I relate to it. It's a position that, you know, I've had most of my life. It's also the position of most of the clients I work with. So, and it's the one that will lead the troops, right? Your position is key in a business, but it's not specifically only for CEOs, right? This is for leadership in general. It's leadership, your self-leadership and leadership of others. Seed number 1, it's about shifting your focus. It's about the combination of the mental, the mindset, the conscious, the unconscious, the spirit-led. So I call it an insurgent wealth mindset. Insurgent because that word is so important in the feeling, the frequency that you are felt, that others feel you with. I'm not sure I'm making myself clear here. Being an insurgent leader, an insurgent founder, for instance, is having a passion mixed with urgency, mixed with resolve, mixed with direction. Being an insurgent leader has roots, it has strength, it's extremely directional with certainty, right? So this is the seed number 1 is about you being aware of your thought processes, you being aware of your belief system, because seed number 1, shifting your focus, shifting your mind, shifting your beliefs and your patterns, that's where it starts. If you're not aware of how you think consciously, I was going to say, and unconsciously, you can dive into your unconscious. I've done it in the last 6 months. It's fascinating. It is what has shifted the most for me in the past year and a half. I've done so much work spiritually. I've done so much work with coaches. I've done so much work on my level of power. I have done so much work on myself over my life that anything that I share with you, it's experienced first and foremost. So I know what I'm talking about. This is not some kind of theory that I believe that I'm passing on because it sounds really good. No, 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 no. First of all, it wouldn't be very authentic. But I can tell you that the work on your unconscious, like digging into your unconscious, and that's really part of the work I do with leaders. When I accompany a CEO, we dig into unconscious beliefs. My superpower is I see right away what you don't see. So I don't tell you everything in that moment, but I will bring you, I will make you get closer and closer to that. And so you're like, oh my God, that's amazing. Like, oh my God, I never realized that. Like, wow, that was a total blind spot, right? So I see it and I bring you closer. So the work on the unconscious, your thought patterns in the conscious, and also your capacity to allow for spirit-led connectivity. Spirit-led connectivity is spending time um, meditating, spending time being with yourself, spending time with you and maybe the void that you feel within you, right? Hyperachievers tend to have a big void inside, and we tend to want to go and fill it on the outside. Fill that void. Well, the void will never fill on the outside. I can tell you that much. That is a for sure fact. Whatever void you feel inside, and that is what is motivating you to go and chase more money, chase women, chase sex, chase adrenaline, chase whatever you're chasing is trying on the outside is trying to fill a void you have inside. So what is the void? That is the question. So one of the first seeds, the first one in fact, is really shifting focus on you, your thoughts, your beliefs, your patterns. That's in the conscious. However, those three are held in 5% of our brain capacity. The rest, 95%, is lodged in your unconscious. So if you don't choose to do deeper work with yourself, you won't be able to really shift gears and transform in moments of valleys in your leadership of life and business, right? So that's really important. And the spirit led, like I said, it's spending time with you so that you receive what you're meant to receive. I'm not a religious person, but I'm a very spiritual person. And business is a spiritual game. That comes from someone like Tony Robbins, a big, huge, almost 7 feet man who is so impressive and so powerful and a billionaire today, has taught so many people around the world. This man quotes this, well, says that business is a spiritual game. So you want to spend time with you to understand that even if you are not a religious person, you are a spirit being led by a lot of forces around you, by a God. You choose that God to be your God. And my God, I connect with every day. My God, I listen. I've learned to listen to every day. I've learned to open space for God to whisper in my ears, in my heart, in my soul, things I never even thought were coming from spirit, from So you call it whatever you want, really, but you are not someone who is disconnected from the forces of this universe, from other people's energies and frequencies. You're not. You are connected. You might not want to call it that. You might not want to acknowledge. You might not want to agree because perhaps you are a very pragmatic person. Okay, so be it. Believe what you want to believe. And when you start opening yourself up to that, there is another world of possibility. That's when you pull the veil after you've scratched it many times, after you've been wanting to pull it and go through that window of opportunity and start being um, um, attracted, drawn to that other side. And when you see what's out there on the other side in the realm of possibility, the realm of innovation, the realm of imagination, it's no longer about pragmatism, right? Because again, if you only want to stay in pragmatism, in reason, in logic, you're stuck in the old paradigm. The new paradigm is, yeah, okay, I can be pragmatic, I can be using logic here, I can be very strategic and using tools that are extremely scientific, and I get to understand that there is another realm of possibility. I get to understand that there is another space for imagination where I can draw more. I can draw more. So this is seed number one, shift focus. I've made a conscious decision, by the way, to not give you some kind of presentation that you can follow on on the screen, because I wanted you to connect to me. I wanted you to receive all of this through me, my being, my voice, my gestures, my style, whatever, so that we get to have more of a human connection rather than, you know, this is it, blah, 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 and then you read and then you get bored and then you look somewhere else and then you disconnect. So this is why you don't have a presentation to look at. But there is a presentation, and if you want it, you can have access to it. Just PM me, private message me anywhere, on YouTube, on LinkedIn. You will have access to all of that wherever this video is posted, okay? And there's also a workbook for you coming. Seed number two, polarity is power. It's the law of cause and effect. It's the law of duality, because power comes from holding space for that center, that middle lane I was starting to talk about at the beginning when I was saying that we are all on a spectrum, right? So the ability, the capacity for us to hold space for whatever is uncomfortable, whatever is pulling us towards fear, anxiety, discomfort, crisis, holding space for paradox would be, you are capable of identifying exactly what makes you feel so uncomfortable, so uneasy, so much in fear, whatever creates so much panic, so much crisis, so much uncertainty for you. You are able to hold space for it, look at it, be with it. I say dance with fear, and choose to transform it, transform that edge into its polar opposite. That's transformation. And see what is the gift. Where is that gift? So if you have someone, for instance, I'm going to give you a few examples to illustrate this seed number 2. If you have someone who is coming to you out of your team, or someone in a relationship next to you, maybe it's an intimate relationship, and comes to trigger you on something that really ignites something in you that is powerful for you. It makes you angry, it makes you fearful, whatever the reaction is. It ignites a reaction. It's not a response, it's a reaction. Big difference. Okay, so you can hold space. You don't have to react verbally with that person. You react because you feel it. It's very uncomfortable. And hold space for it. Look at it, just like a crystal ball. Or you know those little balls that you shake. Let's say you come to Paris and you take one of those little crystal balls and it has snow in it, and it's a little scene, a Parisian scene, and it's really cute, and you shake it and you look at it. Same principle. Hold that, whatever you're feeling that's uncomfortable, whatever, hold space for it, look at it, hold it in that little, imagine that it is in that little ball, and be with it. And look at, what is this teaching you? Why is it coming to trigger you? Why is it pulling you out of your centeredness? Like, why? Why? Is it linked to your past? Is it linked to a sense of vulnerability? Has it actually exposed something perhaps in you that you don't want anyone to see? Is it revealing a part of you you don't want anyone to know? Is it coming to challenge perhaps your leadership? Perhaps a side of you where you feel like you're an imposter, or something where you hold shame? Why is this coming to get you? It is not innocent that innocent is not the good word, but it's not out of nothing that you are reacting. It's because it's coming to get something out of you. So that is the power of cause and effect. It's using polarity as a gift of transformation, because on the other side of that is that gift. It's teaching you. It's coming into your life to show you, so you can grow. So you can grow. So eventually, I know not in that moment of anger or fear or anxiety, you get to a point where you will be grateful for that thing that comes in your life to really get you, to really make you feel uneasy. I can tell you that, with all honesty, this past 18 months for me have probably been, if I were to not understand this law, I would say it's been the worst 18 months of my life, literally. I've had experiences that I never thought I would ever live in my life. I've been living in 3 suitcases for the past year. I'll spare you the details, but it's been the deepest dive in the depth of my transformation ever. And it wasn't easy to pull through this and move through this. It really wasn't. So any of this that I'm sharing with you and transmitting, it's not small principles that are lightly just thrown at you. These are deep, life-changing, universal laws that if you use in your life will help you no matter what pull through to a different level and then eventually move into a different direction. Being in transition, meaning being in a moment of crisis, and sometimes it lasts months, years. You don't know. I know people who've been in transition for years. And I know some, like I was saying at the beginning, who've never pulled out. They committed suicide. This is serious shit. Like, I hope I'm not offending you because I'm saying shit, but this is serious. This is really serious. I'm talking moving through depression, moving through suicidal thoughts, moving through a time that feels so thick, a tunnel that is so dark that you do not know how in that minute, in that hot minute, how to get out of. You've got to build that resilience in your self-leadership because crisis, uncertainty, discomfort is here to stay. It's part of the new paradigm. So you've got to be able to master it, master yourself through it, so you can lead others as well through it. Seed number 3 is expression, finding your voice. So I said they're all interconnected, right? So the one before polarity is power. When you are capable of finding the cause to your effect, you're capable of identifying what really triggers you and seeing the gift and welcoming the gift and growing with the gift, right? You've all of that you will put the seed number 1 into effect, which is, you know, focus, like being aware of your thoughts, being aware of your beliefs, being aware of your patterns, because whatever comes to get you in seed number 2, you know, that trigger, you need your awareness. You need to be able to shift focus in order to really, really, really identify what is the cause to that effect you're experiencing, right? And then in seed number 3, the expression meaning communication, expression meaning you've got to find your voice that communicates powerfully, transparently what you want, what you're intending. No people pleasing, no compromising, no sacrificing. Finding a voice that communicates what you want, what you need, your boundaries. That voice being centered, not aggressive and lashing out, but being commanding, being profound in its power, being communicative in a way that communicates also your emotion and your intent, the meaning. Not only do you need to find it for yourself, this is why I've created this space, because this is my voice, this is my expression, this is all of this in this space of Seeds of Wealth that I will be sharing, transmitting, coaching, mentoring, whatever, is part of who I am. And I'm using my voice to express my beliefs, my standards, what matters to me, the meaning, my intentions, everything, right? And it's coming to you in a way where you can feel the energy behind me. I'm not angry. I'm passionate, but I'm not also like over the top, forcing you to believe what I'm saying. I'm presenting this in a way that has certainty, has power, it's firm, you can feel it anchored. That's my voice. I found my voice. So how does that translate in a company culture? For instance, you would have to, you would want rather to build a coaching culture, where in a company, if you have a coaching culture, you each give each other feedback. But when you give the feedback, you've got to be really aware of where the other person is. You can't just go, you suck at the ways that you just said that to this person. No, 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 no. A beautiful coaching culture works in a company, in a business. It's about giving each other feedback in a way that elevates the other, encourages the other, feels good, inspires the other. Yet you're saying something that is powerful in learning, in like they need to hear this. They will learn from it. It might come in a disguised, not disguised, it's not a good word, dressed up, constructive criticism, like, but it needs to be said, right? So expressing the very truth of what you are made of, expressing the very truth of observations with your coworkers, with your spouse, with your children, in a way that is not aggressive, in a way that is powerful, meaningful, authentic, transparent, caring, empathetic, compassionate, matters. So it's really powerful that communication is mastered at this level for self-leadership and leadership of teams. Another thing on that, another comment I want to make on that is, when I express my truth, when I communicate my truth, I give you permission to speak your truth. Because what happens with that saying is that when you hear something that allows you to go, oh my God, of course, I didn't think of that. If you hear me say something that allows you to feel less alone, feel more connected to a way to lead that makes sense to you, or more connected to perhaps something that happened in your life, and you're like, oh my God, she's actually referring to this. This is something I've experienced, and I've never really heard this before. I've never heard anyone talk about this in this way before. It gives you permission to then speak your truth, right? So that's why it's really important to communicate, learn how to communicate, express your truth. Really, really vital. Seed number 4 is about curating your heart math. So again, all connected, because curating your heart math, what does that mean? So in the States, there is an institute called the Heart Math Institute. They're measuring the power of the heart. The heart, love, is the most powerful energy that exists in the universe. I sat once on a plane from LA to Montreal, and I'm sitting next to this geek-looking guy. And we start chatting, and at the beginning, it's very meaningless chat, right? So eventually he tells me that he was at the head of a startup that became extremely successful in technology. Anyways, long story short, he sells his startup, wasn't a startup anymore, but became this large business, rather young guy, early 30s, and very scientific. He was actually a scientist turned geek slash tech, etc. And he turns to me all of a sudden and he's like, so I gotta ask you one question, the most important question of all. I'm like, okay, cool. Ask. He goes, what is the most powerful energy measured in the universe? Immediately, without even thinking, I said, love. And he looked at me and he was like, what? You know that? And I was like, well, actually, I did not really know that. I instinctively answered something that came to me that, yeah, I believe, but it's not that I read it somewhere. And he was blown away. So this institute, the Heart Math Institute, measures the impact of the heart, of love, of meaning. This is where purpose is found. When you drive your business, your leadership, your life out of your purpose, it comes from your heart. Whatever is attached to your heart is infused with the most extraordinary energy, the most extraordinary and potent frequency that is found in the universe is through your heart. Heart is what moves the crowd. Heart is what will shift the masses. It's your heart. So that is the secret wealth. That is the secret sauce. That is the basis to emotional intelligence. And in Silicon Valley today, 90% of Silicon Valley leaders understand and work and develop their emotional intelligence index because they know that it actually brings more connection, profit, people, inspiration, performance. Yep, just that one small item, the heart, which is the biggest item. So that is seed number 4, is curate your heart math. You need to really start listening to your heart, really connect with your heart, really dig into your heart, develop your purpose, locate your purpose. We know also today that, for instance, women, I don't know if you know, but women today hold 32% and growing faster than in men's hands of the world's wealth. 32%, and it's growing hyper rapidly. Women run a lot of their leadership and their lives according to their emotions. It's been in the past, like way back when, in the early 1900s, when women didn't have the right to vote, I read that a lot of men at the time did not want to give the right to vote to women because they didn't trust them. They didn't trust their emotions. Isn't that incredible? Women were feared because of their emotions. And it's been something criticized still to this day. I have still, in my lifetime, been criticized for my emotions. I have been told at a board meeting where I'm a shareholder of the company and the board I'm sitting at, that my emotions are clouding my judgment. It is one of the stupidest expressions ever. Now, it's not stupid if you allow anger, for instance, or actually anger is good. Anger is a good emotion because anger is like fire. It burns. It burns, it cleanses. It actually is, there is a frequency measurement system of emotions, and anger is actually a good emotion because it will cleanse. But sometimes if you let anger drive you, then of course it's going to cloud. But it's not emotions per se that cloud anyone's judgment. On the contrary, emotions are one amazing tool, a GPS inside to figure out where you're at. Where is your heart? Or is your heart into this or it's not into this? Because if it's not into this, then you're not going to perform. You will not perform. And if you don't have your heart into your leadership when you're leading teams, they will not perform. So emotions are part of the GPS that we need in order to move in the world in a way that actually moves the needle for ourselves and others. So the emotions are, for instance, empathy. I mean, today we all talk about empathy. Everyone talks about empathy, being empathetic, being, having compassion. It's like all of a sudden, like it's a miraculous discovery that nobody was ever talking about. Even 3 years ago, we weren't even talking about empathy, and now empathy is put on a pedestal. Well, duh, empathy and compassion are the ways into trust building with people. When you are down, if you are next to someone who's like, yeah, whatever, like, move on, are you going to build trust with that person? Of course not. You're not going to build trust with that person. So empathy is like so key. And it's always been there. But now that Harvard is talking about it, and then, some leaders are like, oh yeah, empathy. Oh, well, empathy and compassion have been women's qualities all along. So I lost my train of thought because I know I had started a story about women. Oh yeah, women and wealth. Well, women who are now holding 32% of the world's wealth. Banks have been spending a lot of time identifying the ways women lead and the ways women think. And they found, and there is a big study that came out from BCG on that, is that the ways they invest, the ways women invest, is completely related to the meaning that they put into not only their lives, but into the entity they will invest in. So meaning for women is paramount. We as women function, think, do business and wealth very differently than men. And we are actually, despite our emotions, the BCG, what is it called? The discoveries of this research is that even though women are emotional creatures, they drive meaning and make their decisions out of meaning and have a much more long-term approach to investing than men. They're, despite their emotions, a lot less reactive than men. Interesting, right? So the man and the patriarchy, who for a long time have told us that emotions are bad, is now being reversed. Now, in the new paradigm, we run 32 to 33% as women, those emotions of the world's wealth. And we are the type of investors that companies and businesses and startups and funds want, because we choose meaningfully and on a long-term basis the partners we want to do business with. Seed number 5, power, soft power, power with. The old paradigm was about power over. It was the vertical, um, the vertical impression, the vertical way of leading, and the way of creating a sort of authority where one is above the other. No longer. The new paradigm is about power with. So competition today is no longer about one being on top of the other. It's about collaboration. It's about finding synergy to combine forces. And we see it all the time. Like, if you pay attention to what's happening, there are a lot of businesses that are buying other businesses. And are they being eaten? Perhaps in some ways. The other way to look at it, because there's always a choice to look at it, is that they're actually collaborating. They're actually combining forces. And so the sort of power that leadership for CEOs and true leaders, extraordinary leaders, is asking for today, that sort of power is, I almost call it like a porous type of power. It is a type of power where there is parity. One doesn't have to be more than the other in order to be powerful. You can walk shoulder to shoulder with someone else who is just as powerful than you in the ways that they are, perhaps not as the owner of a big business, meaning the sort of power today that is shoulder to shoulder doesn't have to be of equivalent magnitude, meaning one can have an incredible, large, financially powerful business, and the other one has something else that is about talent and skills and doesn't have to be compared. You can walk shoulder to shoulder without comparison, because the comparison is what brings one down through shame and lesser than feelings and and strategies that just doesn't serve at all. So that's seed number 5. It's personal power. It's a porous type of power. It's power with. That's power. It's humility. Humility is part of personal power. Personal power is one of the most incredible sources of influence. Someone with personal power, you can feel it, is the one that will talk to just anyone, will have a smile for anyone that comes their way. You want to follow someone with personal power. There is a heart emanating from personal power. There is a humility. There is a depth. There is influence. There is magnetism. You see it in their eyes. That's personal power. Seed number 6, innovation, the space of creativity. How you unshackle from your conditioning. So you've got to go back to seed number 1 to really identify your thoughts, your patterns, your beliefs, so that you really are able to pull yourself out of the box. Pull yourself out of what attaches you to the status quo, what attaches you to the box, what attaches you to whatever holds you back from creativity and innovation and imagination. This is, we all have the capacity to be incredibly innovative, incredibly imaginative, incredibly creative. We all have it. The difference between The one who is very creative, resourceful, innovative, avant-garde, is the one that allows himself or herself to go into the realm of possibility. Imagine, and to imagine, you've got to pull yourself out of the box of what holds you attached to thinking this way, believing this. So the more conditioned you are to your society, wherever you live, to the family structures, the family inherited beliefs and patterns, the more you are anchored in a sort of hierarchy that holds you down, the less imaginative, innovative, and creative you will be. So get out of your norm, unshackle yourself from, and it's easy through baby steps. You know, if you pay attention to what holds you down, you will be able to be more creative, more innovative. I want to say surrender. Have moments of surrender. So have you ever noticed that it's a cliche, but it's so true? Like you're taking a shower and all of a sudden you've let go in that moment, right? Or you're taking a drive. Like I took a drive the other day. I went from Avignon in France, the south of France, to back to where I am right now with my mom. And it takes like a good 7, 8 hours of driving. I decided to not take the highway. I decided to just take the small roads. I had my dog, I had my podcast I was listening to, I had music, I had whatever I wanted in the car with me. I took my time. Oh my God, the downloads I had that day. Whenever you let go of needing to, having to, forcing and pushing and commending creativity, it won't happen. So it's always in those moments where you actually are in surrender. You're not forcing, you're allowing. When you allow, stuff comes in. Whispers, spirit-led creativity, whatever you want to call it, it happens. So seed number 6 is really about being innovative. And today in this new paradigm, you've got no choice but to be really, really, really creative and always finding a way to bounce into and pivot into a new direction. That's creativity. That's innovation right there. It's agility. You've got to be agile in order to pivot. That's the seed number 6. It's about creativity and agility. Because if you don't have agility, you can't pivot into a creative solution. Seed number 7. This is actually, interestingly, for some, they would say, well, that should be seed number 1. It's structure. It's coming home. It's leadership where you know more of who you are. And in order to support yourself in this self-leadership and therefore leadership of others around you, you've got to structure yourself in daily habits. You've got to structure your space in ways that feel good to you. So it can be your inner space, right? So habits, daily habits, according to who you are. So I don't buy into every morning you've got to, at this time, do exactly that. If that turns you on, if that works for you, great. I'm about encouraging you to find your own unique structure, what works for you. For instance, I'm super driven by variety. Variety for me is about not having the same routine every day. I can't stand it. It brings me down. It doesn't inspire me. It brings my creativity down. It brings my inspiration down. Like, I just don't like it. So I honor certain needs for me to be at my best. And sometimes I'm not at my best, and that's okay. We're not about striving for perfection. We're striving for evolution. It's not, and that's old paradigm. It's perfection. It's having to look the masks of success and looking perfect and looking like you're successful and looking like you're wealthy and looking like all of that. Well, it's one way. Doesn't have to be the highway. It doesn't have is if that's really who you are, great. But if it's not, stop pretending. Go back to you. Go back to what works for you. That is the most important. That's authentic. That's standing for your truth. That's walking your walk. People feel that. 80% of what people feel from you when you walk into the room is your energy, the frequency you're leading on. That's what people feel, not your words. They don't feel your words. If your words actually don't match your energy and your frequency and your authenticity, people feel it. They feel it. It's obvious. So move on. This is old paradigm. It's has been. I love that expression. So structure your growth from a way. It's like coming home. Come home to you. Make sure you care for the structure of your well-being, your self-leadership, your sense of wealth, your feeling of wealth, your feeling of power, and your feeling of success. That's what is important. Feeling successful. What does that mean to you? Does it mean that you've matched the bare minimum of your standards that day? Maybe that day that is what it will mean, or maybe it means to simply be in constant evolution and constant progress, constant curiosity for more, not by being ravenous and like, being super powerful, not powerful, but like as though you've got like a hatchet and just going through the jungle and forcing and pushing. And no, just find what makes you really you and structure yourself, your day, so you're happy and you're fulfilled, because that makes you powerful, so that your heart has a smile, so that when you cross someone in the street, you have a smile. Like, I've come in situations where I've smiled at people and they look at me like, what's wrong? Like, did I do anything? Why is she smiling at me? I mean, that's crazy to see people's reaction this way, right? Anyways, crazy to me. But I hope this helps. I hope that this serves how wealthy you feel, how powerful you feel, how successful you feel, how you can shift at any time, whether you've been successful and you're not feeling successful right now. That's where I come in, to support you, to support your transition, to remind you that no matter what, you are successful, because it's not the void, the transition. It's not one day, one segment of your life that defines who you are. It is the overall landscape of your leadership, of your capacity to lead yourself, lead your success through whatever is brought in your way, through whatever is thrown at you. It's your capacity to handle the space for paradox, for discomfort, for uncertainty, for crisis. Your capacity to build resilience out of that, to transform those moments into growth, transform those moments into learning for you, so you bounce and you become even greater. I believe that success is a lifetime leadership. I believe wealth is a wealth consciousness. It's spiritual, physical, material riches. I believe that power is personal before anything else. Thank you for spending a moment with me. I appreciate you. I love you. I look forward to working with you if that's what calls your heart. You can find me on LinkedIn. So you actually on IG, on Instagram, I am called the Wealth Diva. And on LinkedIn, obviously it's my name. YouTube, it's under my name. And so there is a Calendly link on LinkedIn and most platforms that leads you to a variety of ways to work with me. So there are very cheap ways to work with me, and there are very lengthy ways to work with me. There is like a session for $88. You can choose any themes of the masterclasses, and we go deep for an hour to apply that theme into your life. It's a lot of fun. Then there is another one that and that one was $88. So the other one is for $333. You can choose this shape-shifting masterclass and adapt it to you for 3 hours. So 3 hours is obviously, we go a little bit deeper. I get to really help you in a deeper way to see what's in your way and start transforming. And then there is the equivalent for $1,999. That's for 8 weeks. So 8 weeks, that gives us the exact amount of time that Harvard tells us that shifts happen in 60 days or more. So that's 2 months, and that's 8 sessions of 90 minutes plus. And on top of that, you have access to me on text on a regular basis. Like if you have access to me on WhatsApp, basically. So there are many ways. And then of course there is the accompaniment that I do of CEOs at the top of their companies, where we look at their performance, their leadership, their ways of being CEOs, and we align the business goals that they have in their businesses. We do a 360 type of dive into their world. So yeah, this is, I act as a chief growth officer in your life, as a future of work chief officer in your life. That's my thing. It's I'm hoping that you have been touched in your heart through perhaps a little piece in this masterclass. And I thank you for watching me. I invite you to more. So I see you soon. Thank you. Talk to you soon.